All right, welcome back, guys, for our project here. I've been off for 2 months with this project. Sorry about that, but we will continue with this project, of course. Um, so we left off with part two and creating this top bonnet section here. But then I realized that to be able to get some good references and to all the way throughout, we actually have to start with the front section of this area here and then create the bonnet section. So what we're going to do, we're going to delete this whole section here that we created. And we're first going to create this nose section here. And once we created this nose section here, we will continue with the rest of it. And then we will have some good references to work off of. All right, and also, if you're just tuning into this project, part one is very good and very solid tutorial on creating the blueprints. I will leave the link for the blueprints in the description. This is high quality blueprints, but even if you zoom in, it's still pixelated. So, but believe me, that's the highest quality you can get on this car. So let's start by deleting some of these things here. And don't worry about deleting if you already built it, because obviously practice makes perfect. So delete and say yes to all. Delete, say yes to all. And then we're going to delete all the way up to sketch 9. All right. And then we're going to leave everything else. All right, looking good. All right, so let's start actually creating this nose section here. So the first thing we're going to do is make a sketch on this front plane, because we want to determine the steepness of this front area here. We're gonna go all the way in to here with this front air inlet. I think I would call that. I don't know what is it called, but it's kind of where the air goes in to the car, and it goes all the way in to about that far. Okay, so let's grab a spline here, and just gonna grab that spline and just going to drop it on this nose section here and here, and press escape, and let's give this just a profile for now, and let's move this whole thing into position about there. And then just make sure, because obviously we will delete this line because we just need it to create this section here and to be able to see the steepness of this area here. Let's pull this a bit further out, so that will give us the points that we need to work with and we can work off of. So exit the sketch, and then we're gonna create our first sketch on this one here on front view and normal to profile. Okay, so we're going to come all the way down to about here. So let's grab a spline, and then we're gonna come all the way from this point to not exactly on that point, but somewhere maybe here. Yeah, press exit. Okay, and then we're just gonna click on this line and pull it up. Okay, and I want to make this handlebar vertical, and I want to make this handlebar horizontal. All right, let's pull this out into right edge. Okay, so that looks good. Press OK on that one, exit the sketch. And our next one is going to be on the front plane. So make a sketch on the front plane, normal to profile. And we're gonna grab another spline here, and then we're gonna come from about here to this area here, exit the sketch. Let's give this a profile as well. So about here. And maybe we can just pull it out to about that far. Okay, that looks good. Exit. And then we're just gonna do a sketch on sketch here to create our first curve. So projection, sketch on sketch. And we're gonna select this one and then this one here. And let's create our first curvature there. All right, and then we already set up our second display state in the beginning, where we can just double check our curvature. And our curvature looks good. All right, so now we have to create another curvature like this. But on this curvature, yes, on this curvature is going to be, we're gonna try to follow somewhere. We don't make it too steep, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. All right, so let's jump in here and let's create our first sketch on the front view. Okay, and there's gonna be falling somewhere here. So let's grab that spline. And from there, and I want to be straight. I want to be perpendicular when it falls down to this end here. So I'm just gonna click on there, press escape, and just pull it up like that. I want to make this handlebar again vertical, and then this handlebar horizontal. So again, we can maybe pull this down a little bit just to make sure, and we can always adjust it some more. So that looks good to me so far. And exit the sketch. Okay, and the next sketch is going to be on the front plane again. We're going to do the same thing. So sketch. So front plane, make a sketch. And then spline. And we can just go all the way out like that. And then let's just make this into desired location. Of course, we're going to give a little bit of profile on that. And I want to be perpendicular with this one as well. So I believe maybe we have to come a little bit closer, about that far. Okay, exit the sketch. And again, we're going to do a sketch on sketch here. And that looks good. It's not too steep on this section here. Let's jump to our second display state. So it's kind of almost following this line, which is good. All right, so let's drop a a 3D spline on this end here. And let's pull it all the way down to the end. Alright, and if you press spacebar, we can jump straight on the top of that and give this surface a little bit of profile. About that much. Alright, exit the sketch. And let's jump to surfaces, boundary surface. And let's delete these selections because it selected this one by default. So let's select this one and this one. And for direction 2 is going to be our profile curvature here. Press OK. And we're going to have a look at our surface. How does it look? Spacebar. So I can see already that we might have to raise this one up here. So let's jump in here. So we definitely need to raise up this section here just to be on that curvature. So let's jump into our future tree. And then what we need to is this one is sketch 10 because that was the first one. So edit that one. Now I'm on to profile. And we're just going to raise it a little bit. Alright, and then exit the sketch. Okay, and then jump back into our second display state. So as you can see, having a second display state is quite important because then you can really adjust things the way it should be. Alright, so we need to raise it just a little bit more. So we're gonna jump back into our sketch 10, edit the sketch, and just erase it just a little bit more. Okay, exit the sketch, and let's have a look. Spacebar. And now we are on point with that surface there. Okay, and it's not too steep as well. All right, so that's our first surface here. What we're gonna do is jump into the future tree, mirror, and then for mirror face plane, we're gonna use our front plane, of course, and of course choose bodies. The mirror, it's going to be that body right there. Okay, and then let's jump back into our first display state here. And we're gonna make a sketch on this top plane. And we're gonna cut out this section here because it's completely, there's one hump in the middle of this section here. So these two bonnet sections are actually, they are the same, but they are divided with the dividing surface in the middle. So let's create that. So let's get a center rectangle here. And we're gonna clip on that center rectangle. And then we're just gonna select something like this and exit the sketch, and then surfaces, trim surface, and we're gonna trim out these mid sections here. All right, that's perfect. And now let's jump into a second display state, and we're gonna hide these lines here. Hide this line as well, and then let's do a boundary between the two. All right, and we want to get tangency to face, and a tangency to face on this one as well. All right, so now it looks nice and even all the way throughout. Okay, so let's knit this together. All right, so let's knit that together now. And then now we have some really good surfaces to work from. So let's have a look at our first display state here. Jump into this view. And let's drop a glass so we can see through what we just did. So let's go to glass, and I usually choose blue glass because clear glass sometimes it's unable to click it just like that. All right, so we can see already that we can cut some back on this surface, as you can see. So we're going to make a sketch on this plane, and then we're gonna grab a line. So that's why it's always good to make it a little bit bigger. So we're gonna come from here, and then we're gonna cut it somewhere. This section here. Let's just pull it down until we're kind of perpendicular with that cut. Just a little bit up, a little bit more. It's almost straight, but not. All right. So that's good. All right. So let's go to surfaces, trim surface, and let's trim out this bottom section here and this side as well. All right. That looks good. And let's hide this line on this view state as well. Okay. And we can remove this glass, remove appearance. Okay, good. And then so that's our first surface, and we can work off of this very well. Okay, so the next surface that we're going to create is going to be this top section here that goes all the way to this section. So now we have a good surface to work off of. All right, so we are going to go from possibly from this section here all the way from back here to this corner. Okay, and then that's how we're going to create this section here, and we will cut this area out, obviously. All right, so let's make a sketch on this top plane. So let's grab this curve here, and we're gonna grab it from here, and then we're gonna come all the way down to about there. Okay. And let's see if we can create this curvature without adding any spline points, because the less spline points we have, it's actually the better. And that spline looks good to me already. However, maybe we can move this just a little bit around here, so we have a little bit more better curvature on that. Okay, so that looks good. Exit the sketch. And our next sketch is going to be, we're going to try and delete this line here without any issue. Obviously, it did create an issue for us. So let's do a Control Z, and we're gonna leave it there. Instead, we're just going to hide it. Okay, and then now And then now we want to create this curvature here. Well, before we do that, we want to get some reference points here. So let's jump to the top plane here, normal to profile. And then we're going to drop a point, not there. So Control C. And we're going to drop a point somewhere about, actually, right there. Yeah. And exit. And then we're going to pull that, exit this sketch. And let's jump into a 3D sketch. And let's get a center line. And we want to be in the Y and X, which we are. And then we can use that reference point that we just created. So let's pull it straight up all the way. Okay. And then now we can jump to this front view here. Okay. So now that we have our construction line, we can drop our point here as well. Of course, let's try and make sure that we are in 3D sketch. And let's drop our reference point here. Okay, so now that we have that reference point, are we? Where our reference point? So I put the reference point right here. Unfortunately, we snapped onto that line, but that's no problem. We can pull this line. So let's jump into a 3D sketch, and we want to get the center line. And then we want to be straight, of course. Okay, so that will be our reference point right there. So I hope I'm not too confusing. So that's our reference point here. That's where we're gonna need this point quite often, because that's where the windshield ends, and that's where the bonnet actually ends as well. So this point here. So make sure you have that point just like I have. All right. So now let's make a sketch on the front plane. Front plane here with the spline. And then we're gonna grab that spline from here, obviously, and I'm gonna pull it all the way out to this corner. Exit the sketch, and then just gonna pull this, make this line nice and curvature happy. So that's basically our curvature on the bonnet. I believe it's a bit more straighter here. We can pull this here. I want to make sure that we're kind of perpendicular with that one here. So let's pull this down a little bit. This actually needs to go up a little bit. And we are on point on that side. And I'm pretty sure we're on point on this side as well. And that looks good. Okay. So our first sketch that we made, it comes all the way back here, right? So basically, And we want to make sure that happens to us. So what we're gonna do is gonna jump back in here, and we're gonna add another spline on that, and then we're gonna pull it up just a bit. But before we do that, we need to have a reference point on that one as well. Okay, and the reference point is yeah. And so basically it just curves up just a little bit. So we don't need to make that much of a reference point on that one because it doesn't go up that much. So let's grab the spline and then just pull it all the way up here. Something like that I think will be good. And we're going to do a Alt Control. We're going to add a tangency on this curvature. Okay, and exit the sketch. And now let's create that surface spline. All right, so again, we're going to choose sketch on sketch, sketch on sketch. We're going to choose this line here and this line here. So again, selections. And then this line here, down here, and it went all the way through. That's good. Press OK. And now jump over to our second display state. I hope you are able to follow me all the way through as I'm doing it. I'm trying to do my best to not rush anything or not click anything that I shouldn't click. So hopefully you're able to follow as exactly as I'm following. So we got this awesome curvature now here, and then this surface here as well. So the next surface we need to create, obviously, is going to be the middle sections. So let's jump into here. And then let's jump back into this area. And I want to make this show. I want this to show, of course. All right. And then we can basically use this curvature, but instead, let's jump into the front plane here, and then let's create something similar, but let's drop it down just a bit because our curvature is here. So I want this bonnet to kind of have a profile because it's not completely straight. Right? So let's bring it. Let's grab a spline. We're gonna grab that spline from here, and then we're gonna pull it all the way here. Press exit, and on this area, I want it to be very close to how it is, and then make sure. that it will give us some curvature that we are looking for. Right? So just try and let's try and create the best we can with this curvature here to make sure that we have the desired shape. Okay, so let's exit. And then let's jump into our second display state. And then let's see what can we create with these two curvatures here. So surface is boundary surface. Let's use this one first, and then with the right click, let's use selection manager, and then this one and this one. Press OK. Of course, we need to flip these connectors. And by flipping the connectors, that's probably not enough to create our desired curvatures. And as you can see, it's not falling onto this one, and it needs to touch that corner. So let's jump into our feature tree, click on this line, and then from here we can make sure as you can see that, yeah, this is our curvature here, and it's floating in the air. All right, so it's probably the reason why it's floating in the air is because this curve here. All right, but instead, what we're going to do is come here to Sketch and grab a 3D Sketch, Spline, and then I'm just gonna follow the spline with our 3D Sketch. Okay, so let's just make sure that we are on point with the 3D sketch that we just created. So we are touching the edge now, but we need to be around here on that side. And if we jump to this side here, it looks good. And let's just jump into our second display state here. And that looks good to me. So exit the sketch and jump into our second display state. And then we're going to hide this curvature here that we just created. All right. And now let's use and create this surface here. So sketch on sketch, and this one here. Oh, we don't need to, because obviously we need to create the surface, right? But before we do that, let's add another 3D sketch spline from this point, and I'm gonna snap onto here, exit the sketch, and I'm gonna pull this line all the way until the end. So that's good. And normal to profile. And then let's keep this profile just a little bit. Okay, exit the sketch. All right, then let's try and create that surface now. So surface is boundary surface. Let's select this line here. Let's clear everything, clear selections. So let's select this line here and this line here. And for direction 2, we're gonna select this line here. All right. Of course, we want to pull this back a little bit. And let's pull it all the way to the edge. I want to try something. And let's select this edge here if we could. Because that will create a lot of surface for us. So let's hide this lower sketch here. And this one as well. And let's go to sketch, 3D sketch, spline. And let's just follow this edge here. And let's jump to the top of this. And pull this until we're on that edge. Okay, so obviously we need to get rid of this line. And we're gonna do the same thing here. Delete that. Then we're gonna use this line to create exactly what we just created before. So let's go to 3D sketch, 3D spline. And let's start from this point. And let's try and stay on this line here. And on that edge. Exit the sketch. And let's just jump to the top to make sure that we are on the middle. And then we need to clear that. Okay, that looks good. And we can come a little bit closer. Okay, that looks good. And you're just gonna double check from the side. And that looks pretty good. All right, so exit the sketch. And let's hide this sketch here. That's overlapping this one here. Okay. And now let's try and create this surface. So boundary surface, let's select this line, this line. For direction 2, let's select this edge. Instead, Let's select Sketch, 3D Sketch, 3D Spline, and let's stay on the edge with this 3D Spline. All right, exit. And now we should have a good surface. So surface is boundary surface. Let's select this line, and for direction 2, select this 3D Sketch, and then select this edge as well. Press OK. Okay, and let's have a look from the side. And we are looking exactly how we want it to look. So really, I wanted to have this little bit of step here, just like the real one. And we have a nice curvature on the bonnet all the way throughout. So this looks a lot better than the other one, obviously. Okay, so now let's mirror this over to the other end. Select this plane, but mirror is this one. Okay, that looks good. And as I said before, we're gonna cut out this section here from the middle. So we're gonna come into the top plane, and then we're gonna sketch here, sketch, normal to profile. And we're going to use this exact square here. So convert entities, this box, and then we're going to grab a corner rectangle, and we're gonna go from here all the way over here. Okay, exit the sketch, and then surface is trim surface, and we're gonna trim out this. But before we do that, obviously we need to trim this box. Okay, so surface is trim surface. Control Z on that. Little bit of error. I'm to profile. Let's cut this here and pull this line out. Okay, so let's cut this. And let's do a center rectangle. Okay. And then surfaces and trim surface. And let's try. Let's see. Yes, we can now. Let's try and not cut that side. Okay, good. We are on target. Okay, perfect. Now let's jump into our second display state and let's have a look at our surface. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It looks a lot better than the other one. We are a lot closer to reality, almost 100%. And then, of course, we're going to edit the the spline to make this yeah, so I need to edit that to make it come all the way out. But we can just come over here, sync in display state, and let's do an extend surface on this one, same surface. I just want to lengthen this one section here, but we will do that in the next tutorial. And I'm going to leave this tutorial here, part 3. And I hope that you've been able to follow me and then create the surface here. And we will continue on in the next tutorial. All right, thanks very much for being with me for this long, and sorry for not being able to upload anything for past 1 or 2 months. But now I'm back on, so the new projects and the new parts will continue, and we will finish this Bugatti Bolide, and it's going to be a lot better project than the previous one, obviously. All right, and also if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you're just logging in, please subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. All right, thanks very much. Bye bye.